the official podcast of Knox Toastmasters. My name is Wendy and I will be hosting this episode. Today we are going to talk about leading to inspire, how leaders can inspire the teams. To discuss this, we have our wonderful, illustrious president of our club, Judith Talanoa. Welcome, Judith. It's a pleasure to have you today. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Wendy, it's lovely to be here with you, and thank you very much. A little bit about myself. Well, I've been in Toastmasters for some 26, nearly 27 years now,
Wow.
and have loved every minute of it. It's been the most fascinating time. I've done a lot of other things as well, but I haven't found anything that is as satisfying as being in Toastmasters and gives me as much growth. I've been a radio announcer, country radio, so nothing fabulous, but a lot of fun. And I really enjoyed that. So I did that for 3 years. I've done, looking just for the interesting and different things, I've also been a volunteer community corrections officer, working with people on the court-based orders. That was fascinating, some fascinating people that you run into doing things like that. And then while I was doing that, I found Toastmasters and joined it. And I really, within a year, didn't have time to do all the other things that I was doing. So I've just settled down most of the time. I do other work. I teach English as a second language. I teach a U3A class for communication skills, because what else does a Toastmaster do? And teach communication skills. So I do that. And that's wonderful. And I'm really missing that because of this lockdown at the moment. So I'll be glad when we get back to it. We've been doing it for 5 years. So I thankful for all that sort of thing. But yes, so just as a quick introduction, that's me. I had 2 children. I have one still living, the other one passed. And I'm here.
That's awesome.
So
yeah.
That's me.
I'm pretty sure that we will be talking about these different phases in your life in the future podcast. I sincerely hope. This sounds fascinating. Life at Toastmasters, Judith. I'm pretty sure you are the best to answer these questions. Then, as this year you are the club president of Knox Toastmasters. What motivated you to take up the role?
That's an interesting question. And part of it might be a bit of ego, an interesting position, and possibly one that is more overseeing things and trying to just hold everything together and not really doing as much as some of the other roles, like the Vice President of Education is a huge job. Vice President Membership, who has to look after the new members coming in and members who are already there. So they've got some big jobs. And I look at that and I think, generally speaking, the president's job is just to, because we have a committee in Toastmasters, the club has a committee of 7, sometimes 8 people. And so you have the immediate past president, who is there as a helper. And then you have the other members. So you have your Vice President of Education, who obviously works on the agendas and everything else. Vice President Membership, who, as I said, works with people wanting to come in and people who are already in. Then you have Vice President Public Relations, obviously public relations, a treasurer, a secretary, and a sergeant at arms. And so that's the team that a president works with, and then that team works with the rest of the membership. Generally speaking, we try and have a membership of 20 to 25 people, which means that then everybody gets a chance to do everything they need to do through the year. And to me, the success of the club depends on our membership succeeding and achieving things. And that's up to the membership. I can't say, so-and-so, you have to do this year. It's all voluntary. And so we're in a position that you have to just try and encourage people and talk to people and find out what they want and help them to get it. And so that's one of the reasons. 26 years in Toastmasters, I figure I'm not perfect as a public speaker, but I think that I have a lot of information, a lot of things that I can hand to people so that they know what they're doing and how to do it and how they can get what they really want. So that's really yeah, I like it. I do it because I'm part of a team, and to me, that's what really works well. So yeah,
Indeed.
briefly, that's the question.
Indeed, that's a fascinating answer, I would say, because I do understand as the president, he or she is more like a cheerleader. And
Mm,
for last couple of months, I've been working with you. I feel like you are really cheerleading us, the rest of the team, and I really appreciate. It's not like micromanaging. You managed to
no,
keep the whole team together really well. So I would like
yeah,
to elaborate the last bit of your previous answer, in terms of any helpful tips for as a team leader, which our listeners could take away, especially as a volunteer team leader, which seems to
yes,
be very
and that's the
challenging.
big difference. That's the big difference at being volunteers. So you cannot order people to do things.
Mm,
The idea is that you have to work with people, find out their strengths. Find, one of the things I have found more than anything else is that while I believe that a person is capable of doing something, they've got to believe the same thing. If they don't believe it, they're not going to be able to do it because they're thinking, well, she wants me to do it, but it's beyond my capabilities.
mm,
So as a team leader, I have to find out what that person believes about their own capabilities.
true.
They don't believe the same as I do, or if I underestimate them, there's a problem. So I need to understand how my team works and how they fit in together.
Mm,
And to me, that's what a leader does, is not necessarily stand there and say, you're going to do this and you're going to do that. It's teamwork all the way through. And that's when everybody is happy to work together and
yeah.
nobody feels left out,
Mm,
or whatever people might sort of feel, they're not so likely to get their feelings hurt when something doesn't quite happen the way they expect it to do. So to my mind, as a team leader, I need to understand my team and what drives them and what their apparent weaknesses are,
mm,
and try and help them turn them into strengths. And I learned that a long time ago, not in Toastmasters, but in Parents with Our Partners. And I was supposed to be doing something one night and I couldn't do it. And I asked a friend, would she do it for me? And she said, oh, I don't really know how to do it. And I was pretty bruised with her. And I said, well, of course you do. All you have to do is da, 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 da.
mm,
And she didn't even turn up for it. So somebody turned up for a meeting and there was no one there to meet with them. And I said to her, why did you do that? And I was really annoyed.
mm,
Actually, angry was probably closer to it. And she said, because I had no idea what I was doing and I just didn't know where to start. And that's when I realized that because I knew she could do it, she didn't.
mm,
And that's what made the huge difference.
mm.
So when I'm looking at people and if I see them sort of hesitating and maybe not sure, then I will say, okay, so what do you need to know? Who can help you? What do we need to do? So I try and make it that the team works together and everybody helps everybody else.
Fair.
Nobody should have a role that is just wholly and solely theirs, so that your vice president education and your vice president membership have to work close together, because they both have to deal with the parents of the members and the new people coming in. And everybody helps the sergeant at arms, because if they're setting up and there's people coming in, you need help. It's a matter of making a team work as a team and looking after each other. And right at the moment with the pandemic, looking after each other is more important than usual.
Indeed, indeed.
To me, that's what being a team leader is all about.
Interesting. Thank you so much for sharing that, Judith. It's incredible to listen to a fact that we have to take care of each other to bring the best of us. But then again, I have this question where you have the leadership team on one hand, the other hand, you have the members who are subjected to that leaders. And it's two sides of the equation. So members also have their own part to play, but this is something we often forget, that we should have enthusiastic members also in the team as team
Mm.
members. So how do you, what is the importance of having an enthusiastic member in our team?
to me, everyone should be part, like the whole club, every member, 20, 25 people, whatever there are, they are all part of a team as far as I'm concerned. Now, I look at that and I think this is a team, because the idea of Toastmasters is to help each other to achieve. So it's not just the vice president membership working with each member and saying, yes, you can do this. I mean, we have mentors so that everybody has a mentor who then works with that person to help them to formulate speeches, to work out how to do evaluations. Table topics the most terrifying part of Toastmasters, which is the impromptu speaking, but is so important if someone is out working or looking for jobs. The impromptu speaking is so important to know how to cope with that and not freeze when someone asks you a question and you go, and nothing comes to your head. So, there's things that, so again, looking at all the members, so you've got 7 or 8 people on your team, and then you've got another, say, 12 to 15 people who are your other members. You need to know, as a team, we need to find out their strengths and weaknesses and their ambitions and their wishes, but particularly the weaknesses. And I'll just digress for a minute. I had a friend, probably 20 years ago, who came to Toastmasters, and she was literally pathologically shy. And like, you could stand next to her. I thought she didn't like me, and which I have to admit was a bit unusual, because most people do like me. And sorry, that's
I agree with that.
But you couldn't hear her. Even standing next to her, I couldn't hear her talk. But I knew she had a job, and a very important job, and she was in charge of 12 people at her work. But in her comfort zone, she had no troubles. Outside of her comfort zone, which was only work and maybe her home, you couldn't hear her. And so we couldn't evaluate the things that she was doing because no one could hear her, even standing next to her. And then, so she used to sort of, when you're talking to her, she talked to her feet, which is why I thought she didn't like me. And then I noticed she started talking to my feet, and I thought, that's a start. And it sounds funny now, but back then, it was a huge change. So then gradually she moved up until we were face to face and you could actually hear her, and she started going. Now, eventually she was asked by Monash University to run a 12-week course for them in her field of expertise.
Wow.
Came to me, and this was probably 18 months after she joined. And she said, it was just one night a week, I think. And she said, can I do it? And I said, well, I don't know, can you? And she said, well, I said, well, do you know what you're supposed to be lecturing on? And she said, yes, that's not a problem. So I said, well, are you asking me as a Toastmaster, are you capable of doing it? And she said, yes. And I said, yes. She said, oh, fine. So off she went and did it. So, it's one of my little miracles that I keep on saying, Toastmasters can change your entire life. And it did change her entire life. She said it was, I'm sorry, I'm answering this question a bit long, but I'm probably picking up something else. She found that when we do evaluations, so now the evaluations are praise, improvement, praise, and hopefully a summary at the end of it. So we look at people's strengths, then we look at their weaknesses and try and help them turn them into strengths. So you'll spend a bit of time on that, but you use terms like you might think of, have you considered, just gentle terms to bring to mind that maybe you need to change the way you're doing this. So you would tell them how to do that, and then you go back, give them a couple of points of praise, and then finish it off. So that's how an evaluation generally works. She found when she had to do reports on her workers, on the people that she was in charge of at work, she said it used to take her days to get these reports done. She said when she learned how to do evaluations properly, she said I could do them all in one day. Because she said I learned praise, improvement, praise. So I'd find the things, she said, during the times that I was working with them, I'd find the things that they were good at, look at the things that they could maybe improve on, and tell them, have you thought of trying this to achieve that? And another, you did well on this. And she said, that was it. That's all I had to do. She said, it was absolutely fabulous. So Toastmasters is good for more than just Toastmasters. So having digressed a little bit, but that's Our idea is to work with members to help them to achieve what they want to do. Some come because they stutter. We've got someone here that stutters. I was on a Toastmaster meeting in Israel a month ago. That's what I like about Zoom. And there was 2 people in that club that stuttered, and I was introducing another man who wanted to join because he stuttered. So he felt comfortable because there was someone else there who had stuttered. We have people with different languages and different level of English, and we try and help them to get their tongue working so that we can, they can make themselves heard and clear. There's just so much to it and so much fun at the same time. So it's learning and fun and achieving. To me, that's what Toastmasters is about.
Yeah, indeed. I understand your perspective. You're essentially trying to say that being enthusiastic member is also part of the leadership team, where you find each other's motives and help them to shape up their own skills. So that is kind of friends helping friends, which is one of the tagline of one of the past international presidents, which is quite incredible to listen to your little wisdom, nuggets of wisdom. To be honest, I could keep going, but as a podcast episode, we have to.
Yes, you don't want to too long. And I'm a great digresser.
But digression is always allowed in this podcast, so that's fun part
Well,
of
I think it pertains because it explains more, perhaps why we do things and how we can change people's lives without pressure.
True.
So we need to encourage people to be happy to move into the roles.
Interesting.
And that's
yes.
Yeah. So overall,
that's you see, we always listen to a lot of leadership, motivational, inspirational speeches, all in Toastmasters, beyond Toastmasters. But what I really loved about your segment is that these are like practical, kind of tested, and you have succeeded. It is incredible to share that with our audience, and I'm pretty sure everyone enjoyed having you, listening to you. So, as the probably parting gift for the podcast series, what do you have in mind for the future podcast? What are the topics would you like to see, or would you like to do, Judith?
Well, now that you asked that question, I think that evaluations, someone to talk about evaluations. Evaluations are often an underestimated value in Toastmasters. As I just said before, it helps people who have to do reports on their people that they work with. It helps them see things in an entirely different way. It trains your brain to look at things differently as well. And I'm a great one for training the brain. And so it's, to me, evaluations just change the whole setup of everything. Your brain looks at things, and you have to look at things in giving advice carefully, gently, supportively, and in an encouraging fashion, but still telling them you've got to change this. This needs to change. But you can't say to them, you've got to change that. It's just not how it's done. So evaluations, I think, would be an excellent
Indeed, definitely. I think we should do one on giving feedback, and probably get some more other members on board as well to share the experience. Probably
we have some very good evaluators in our club.
Yes,
really good. I'd have to say that I look up to them. They don't look up to me for evaluations.
But we need a leader, of course, to coordinate everyone. Yes. See how we can do. So that's all for today, Judith. Thank you so much for being with us and sharing your little nuggets of wisdom and sharing your experience, little anecdotes which we all enjoyed. So hope to see you.
I have a habit, is my way of doing things is a bit of storytelling. So yeah, I tend to do that. Everyone has their own way of doing things. So some people are storytellers, some people do it differently. I just tend to bring in stories. I haven't learned not to do it.
Stories do wonders for sure. So thank you so much. So that's all for today's episode.
Okay.
Till the next episode. See you all soon.
Looking forward to hearing the next one, so that'll be great. Thank you very much, and thank you for having this wonderful idea, Wendy, of putting a podcast on. I think it's wonderful.
Indeed, we had a lot of fun. So till the next episode. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.